French aviator, poet, and author Antoine de Saint-Exupéry once said, quote, "A goal without a plan is just a wish." And quote, "A plan without a solution is not a plan at all. Having a plan when the plan itself does more harm than good is not one you should take." And really, that is exactly the case that we see with the affirmative team's plan. Now, they propose to eliminate cabotage restrictions, thus increasing the competition. However, all this case may sound convincing, it is my goal throughout the speech to prove to you that in fact their case fails in improving national security, jobs, and in increasing competition. Now, I'll be proving this through first going down the flow of their previous speech, clarifying a couple points made in cross-examination, and ending with some clarifications of our own case. Now, as the affirmative team, they will try to convince you that their plan helps. As the negative team, we will try to convince you that their plan violates the stock issues of significance, inherency, and topicality. And that is why I, Victoria Carroll, and my partner, Victoria Hilferty, negate the resolution today and believe that the United States federal government should not significantly reform its domestic transportation policy implemented by the Department of Transportation. So let's get into it. Now, first of all, I'd like to state again that we would like to tag our response to their first harm of competition is a necessity, and you can tag our response to that as competition does not improve services. Competition does not improve services. Quote, "By relaxing the U.S. air cabotage restrictions won't solve every problem dodging the U.S. airline industry and imperiling your summer travel plans. Labor issues and related regulations, for example, are still looming large, especially for legacy carriers." End quote. That's from Cabotage.org. Now, we've seen that competition actually does not improve the services. Why? Well, they talked about in their last speech that lower prices on other airlines will actually boost the competition in the United States. However, if we think about this with common sense, we see that whenever another business comes into your business and actually proposes lower prices, then of course consumers will go towards lower prices, and in turn your business will suffer. That's exactly what we will see in this case. Now, moving on to their plan, they stated that their plan will be enforced by the DOT. However, they never mentioned the CBP. As we stated in our last speech, the CBP is a vital agency that actually deals with airlines. Quote, "The DOT defines U.S. cabotage restrictions and creates relevant regulations, but it's the U.S. Customs and Border Protection that monitors and enforces cabotage." End quote. "If we do not recognize the important role the CBP plays in the cabotage, then their plan will not work. Just because they say, and additionally, just because they're blocking China, Russia, and any other threatening countries, we still have no previous, and they have not provided any evidence of other countries to fall back on, and evidence that other countries have actually flourished by releasing cabotage restrictions." Now, moving on as well, let's look at jobs. We stated in our previous speech that jobs will actually benefit if we keep our cabotage restrictions, and we continue to affirm this. Next, I would like to state that if we have competition, we will increase. If we have cabotage, then we will keep competition. Quote, "The 10 largest U.S. carriers account for over 90% of the domestic market. Just 4 of these airlines control over 68% of that market." End quote. Now, we see that President Joe Biden signed an executive order on promoting competition in the American economy. Now, this principle concerns the EO and was a market concentration. Now, we see that removing cabotage restrictions is not the only way to increase competition. Recently, on July 9th, 2021, President Joe Biden, in fact, signed a law that increases competition in the United States without removing cabotage restrictions. Now, my last point, you can tag that as foreign airlines have no incentive to bring their businesses to America. No incentives. Quote, "What would happen if we opened the floodgates and allowed any foreign airline to come into the U.S.? Would Qatar Airlines bring their high levels of service along with low fares, as in the case internationally? Only if they wanted to lose money doing it. And you know that they would not be allowed to get subsidies from their home governments to support a domestic U.S. operations." End quote. Now, I asked this during CrossX, is that if you had a business, would you take it to to Egypt? And the answer is no, you would not, because there is additional regulations and your business would actually suffer. Additionally, American citizens will suffer because safety regulations are not the same across the board internationally. So the restrictions and safety measures will harm our citizens. And for all these reasons that I ask you to